Hello and welcome to another episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. I am your host, Josh Cox. I am here with Jamie Holt, Scott Medlin, and routine guest, Jordan Mann. We are missing our guy, Brian Kennedy. Brian is currently in Viva Las Vegas. I hear Duke has added basketball to the repertoire now, and Brian is out there enjoying Vegas and catching the Duke-Kansas game, but we want to welcome you in. Duke picks up its 8th victory on the season, moving to 8-3 overall with a 31-28 home victory against the Virginia Tech Hokies. You'll hear more from us, but first, let's hear Coach Diaz's post-game remarks.
What an absolutely extraordinary game. So many momentum shifts, so many mistakes. We certainly did not play our best. I felt we were a little out of character for a lot of the night, a little emotional. Senior night, I think, can have something to do with that. But ultimately, we were resilient. And, we talked about mental toughness and the ability to overcome obstacles, which I think Virginia Tech, to their credit, presented some. I think we presented some to ourselves. But when it came down to winning time, we found enough plays to win the game. And so I'm really excited to be sitting on 8 wins with one more left. Great to close out Wallace Wade Stadium. Great to be, I think, 16 out of 19 here. And there's a lot of forward positive momentum for our program. Had a lot of great recruits here. So there's just a lot of things pointing in the right direction for Duke football. And there's a happy locker room of guys down in there celebrating the success they had today. I don't know that anybody would confuse that with excellence, but we were successful, and that's ultimately all that matters, was finding a way to win the game.
And thank you, Coach Diaz. As we said, Duke moves to 8-3 on the season. Guys, number one, Jordan, thanks for coming on, man. We really do appreciate you hanging out with us tonight, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me back on. Obviously, last time I was on was the preseason predictions, and I'm pretty sure all monitors chalked up. I don't even want to know where I'm at in that. I can only imagine. But, yeah, look, I'm always happy to come on and talk ball. And it's a shame, Brian, just gave up on the podcast here. I had to get thrown into this Duke Wake Week, and Brian's out in Vegas just living life, living it up.
It's kind of like this was an afterthought, kind of like Wake Forest athletics in general. So, they're like the afterthought of the ACC, and Brian's treating them that way, evidently. But no. So, look, real quick, guys, I know we're going to get into some questions, and obviously that game was pretty wild. Let's do this. I know we're going to get into some questions about it, but like just real quick, 30,000 foot view. Like your quick reaction to the victory this past Saturday.
That was a crazy game. Like, if we're being honest, like, it was just wild from start to finish. And first off, I was glad to be able to come. I didn't think I was going to come because my sister and family were in town, and we did like a Thanksgiving lunch with them on Saturday. And then my sister randomly asked, like, is Duke playing today? Are they on the road? I'm like, no, they're at home. She's like, you're not going? Then her and my nephew and Ethan just said they wanted to go, so we came. It was a fun game, sort of. Started out like Duke was going to blow them out. Ended up in typical Duke fashion. I kept on telling people, like, this is the life of a Duke fan. This is the life of a Duke football fan. This is how it's been for many years. Felt like we were going to blow them out. They got back in it. Duke was able to finish the job and get to 8-3, and that's what 5 wins over what the preseason Vegas lines and all that stuff had Duke at what, 3.5 or something.
Some of them at 3.5. I think it ended at 5.5, but still Duke is at least 3 games over what people thought.
So great year so far.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. A win is a win, but I got to know one thing, and I'm hoping Duke fans, you can help me out. Who in the world is going to pay for my heart pills? I got to know, because I'm gonna have a heart spell during one of these games where we're so up and down, it's crazy. And then finally, when the game was over the other night, I was like, I took another breath, and I'm like, we actually freaking won the game. Because at 7-0, 14-0, I'm like, oh, this is over. We're going to have a great night. And then, yeah, it didn't happen the way it was supposed to. But, hey, we're 8-3. We got another win. Hey, we won at home. Big way to send out the seniors. And Eli Pankel had the game of all games. God bless that man.
Yeah, I mean, to go off of that, it's been crazy. It's been exactly what every game has felt like all year for Duke. I tweeted about it. I think it was Monday. I tweeted about it that Duke's been down double digits in 4 games this year. They've come back in all 4 games and have taken the lead in those games, and they're 1-3 in those games. So when they're down double digits, they come back and take a lead, 1-3, and then Duke's also on the flip side has blown 4 double-digit leads, and this was the 4th game that's happened. And the first 3 were UConn 17-0, Miami 28-17, NC State 12-0, which was like a slow death of field goals. They came back and tied it, and then Duke was up 14-0. And I went to this game with 2 Virginia Tech friends, and I looked at them. It was 10 minutes ago in the first quarter. Duke's up 14-0. I was like, hey, live bet Virginia Tech because this is going to be a barn burner. And sure enough, here comes Virginia Tech, and they took the lead 17-14.
Yeah, consistency, right, is just, that's just been the challenge for this team inside in the game, right? Consistency within a game. But we forgot. Brian is not here tonight, and it all goes to crap. We forgot to pay the bills. And so real quick, I'm going to give us a rundown of our Hellraiser sponsors. We want to thank Matt Bliven and his real estate agency there. MLB@nestrealty.com is his email address. Matt is a Durham native. He knows the market very well. He handles all portions of the triangle. But if you're looking to buy, sell, invest, you're looking for land, you're looking for new builds, you're looking for a regular traditional property, whatever it may be, Matt Bliven is your guy. He also has sponsored throughout this entire year our ticket giveaways. And so we've given away 4 tickets to every home game, and that has all been courtesy of Matt Bliven, and we really appreciate him being a Hellraiser sponsor. Once again, you can find him, email him at mlb@nestrealty.com. And then once he gets you in a home, you got to make sure that home will stay warm in the winter and stay cool in the summer. And that is where our friends from Hometown Air come in. We appreciate them coming on this year as a sponsor as well for all of your residential HVAC needs to have your system running smoothly and efficiently throughout all 4 seasons of the year. Their service contracts will help you do that. If you mention the Section 17 podcast, when you reach out to them, they will give you $17 off your first year's service contract. And here's the deal. If you will get a service contract on your systems, they will last longer. And so you're actually investing in your property. And so you can go to hometownairnc.com, hometownairnc.com, and they will take care of all of your HVAC needs. And then if you're in your house from Matt Bliven, you got it warm in the winter from our friends at Hometown Air, you got to wear some clothes if you want to. That's where Home Field Apparel comes in, vintage gear and vintage brand. They are now running a 30% off code. It's all over their website at homefieldapparel.com. For the next few days, no need to use code Section 17. Use their 30% off code that's plastered all over their website. Get 30% off over the next few days. It's a great deal. They don't do this any other time except this week of the year. So take advantage of some Duke gear. I've personally got the bomber jacket. We've seen Eli and some other guys that had the pullover kind of bomber, or kind of the pullover V-neck jacket or whatever. That was really cool. But anyway, look up their stuff, homefieldapparel.com. We want to thank our sponsors for sure. And so before we move into our questions that Jamie's prepared for us, we didn't record on our typical Monday night spot, and we're now recording on Tuesday night, and a little something happened today that we feel like we need to address. If you recall, 5 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks, it was after the JMU game, I believe it was, that rumors came out of the locker room, the UNC locker room, that old boy Mack Brown had resigned as their coach inside the locker room. I actually spoke to a person connected to UNC today who re-verified that absolutely he quit in that locker room after the JMU game. walked it back the next day. They did what they needed to do. And then this past week, he comes out and says he's coaching and going to be back next year, only to find out earlier today that UNC has different plans. That's right. Mack Brown has been fired as the UNC football head coach. And we're going to talk about it as I just walked through the room and has messed up what's going on here. So, guys, what's your reaction to Mack?
Go ahead, Scott.
I'm so freaking glad to get rid of that old fart. Take your pudding cups, go sit your butt with Sally. Go find Roy. How about you and Roy, and y'all go do something other than going to basketball games and football games? Thank God he's gone. They are never back. They suck like they always have. And God bless you. Didn't bring my pudding cup tonight, Mac. I'm sorry. I ate it earlier because it was too early. Had to go ahead and get it done.
Yeah, look, it was time. It kind of sucks that it came out publicly that he was fired. I mean, the guy basically kind of built the UNC program, obviously, with what his first stint was, and then he came back. Mac was back. It was the hot commodity. And then it comes out he was fired rather than publicly saying he was stepping down or retiring because he didn't want to. And so that forced UNC's hand to come out saying he's getting fired. And so, look, it sucks, or it sucks that he's gone because now Duke has his number. They beat him, and obviously we've had those close losses previously. I felt good about Duke beating him next year with Mack Brown. Now Duke will have to beat him with somebody else, but it does feel nice that his last year at UNC, Duke finally beat Mack Brown.
I just got one thing to say. I got a salute to Mac. It's the double bird salute. Can I do that on YouTube? Is that fine, or is that does that need to be blurred out or what?
No, you already had that set up. It was an inside joke between you and him, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but Mac, they basically, like Jordan said, they basically just took him out back and shot him. Like he said he was going to come back, and they're like, not so fast, my friend. As Lee Corso would say, not so fast. But anyways, it'll be interesting to see, as the coaching search gets on. We've heard some crazy names thrown out already. We actually saw, I guess Brian sent it to us in a text message. What was it? The offensive coordinator from Pittsburgh Steelers going to be on the list for Carolina. So it'll be interesting to see as their list grows and their coaching search, see what happens.
Yeah, it does remind me a little bit of the Cutcliffe final season, even though Duke handled the PR a little bit better than what Carolina's handled it. You're right. Like everybody knows the craziness that's gone down at UNC over the last 6 weeks. And Duke kind of kept theirs a little bit, quieter. And so anyway, I think it's very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see, who they go after. I know they probably have some people over there who are going to shoot for the stars to try to hire someone. I don't believe UNC's a top 25 job in the country, much less a top 10 job in the country. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays itself out for sure. But there will be a new face at the head of the UNC football program the next time your Blue Devils see him. Now, we mentioned this in our group text earlier today. This is setting up for NC State to get beat by 35 points this weekend. UNC is just going to absolutely show up and show out for this final regular season game for Mac. Final game against NC State. Like that would be absolutely what is going to take place. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens there in that game.
Yeah, if that happens, Josh, is now all of a sudden Dave Doran's on the hot seat. Like this has been a terrible year for NC State, and they've already wanted him gone the last few weeks. Casey Concepcion's brother decommitted. Now he's committed to, I think, Kansas State. I've said on the Big J and Little J show since the Louisiana Tech game that NC State played, looked like Casey Concepcion's checked out of this season and was going to be in the portal. So now his brother decommitted. Basically what I'm getting at, if they lose to UNC, is Doran on the hot seat? Is he going in Raleigh?
No, I think that's a great question. And, with all these programs, man, with NIL, a new part of what's going on, State did a great job of raising NIL money last year, but it's really hard to go back to those people again and say, hey, we didn't make a bowl game with all the money that you guys gave last year. can you do it again real quick? And like, we're going to make sure that we take care of it this year. You think of programs like Florida State that have spent, a lot of money on a roster. And now to try to have to go back and do that again, it'll be very interesting. And NC State's going to have, probably not to the scale of Florida State, but to a lesser degree, going to have that issue moving into next season for sure. So very interesting. Well, this isn't a UNC podcast. And so Chapel Hill College podcast. Sorry, Scott. This isn't a Chapel Hill College podcast. So we're going to move on. You guys sent in some questions this week. And Jamie was so kind. Jamie, when you're out, man, and I got to do the questions, it's rough, dude. It's rough. It's not my favorite thing in the world to have to do. So I appreciate you doing that. And let's get started on these questions, man.
All right. We're going to start off with Bentley Weeks at Bentley Weeks on Twitter. He says one of the biggest differences this coaching staff has been compared to the previous one is how they keep our guys fighting while things are close. What is it about this coaching staff that has helped us get over the hump and win these close games? Anybody? Crickets. But I think, honestly, I think they were close to winning. We had so many close games with under Midnight Mike as the Midnight Rider, the guy in Texas A&M that lost to Auburn before he played Texas. But we had so many close games with him. I think that actually prepared this team. And you see, like in end of game situations, when the defense is out on the field, you see Manny's a lot more aggressive. I don't think they're just dropping back and playing safe. He's bringing heat. We saw it at the Carolina game, ended up with a interception there at the end, a Trey Freeman interception. Stuff like that didn't happen under Elko, but it's turned around, and these guys got some experience in close games, lost those close games. Now they're winning those close games.
I would say it helps too that we're in the portal. We're getting older guys. We're getting seniors, and like you just referenced on defense, those guys are going out there and in a lot of ways they're winning the football game for the team. The offense is doing a really good job recently of putting points on the board. However, the defense has had to hold the other team in check. And we mentioned this the other night walking out of the stadium. Years past, and this is why a lot of Duke fans have PTSD, years past, Duke would have found a way to lose 35-31. But the last 3 seasons, excluding 2 big games, it's not happened. These guys are playing. They're leaving it on the field. They've done a great job. I mean, the 2 games they should have won, things just didn't go right. There were 2 freaky plays, SMU game this year, the Notre Dame game last year. Duke should have won both those games. And then, we may be talked about in the national media. I know the tweet or whatever's been going around about Duke and Alabama, which one is the better 3-loss team. I mean, it says a whole lot about where the Duke program is, even though Vegas has no idea where Duke is in football.
Yeah, Scott, you made a good point about having seniors out of the portal, because that's very true. You get those type of guys in the portal. And I mean, look, Star Thomas came from New Mexico State. Diego Pavio is the QB there, and you see what he's doing at Vanderbilt. There's not like a one answer to like why they're so good in these 1-score games, because it feels like the defense has stepped up the most consistently. So I give the defense their credit. But then I think about Northwestern, where Duke's offense was, not great for 4 quarters until the last drive when they needed to get a field goal, got a field goal. And then Malik Murphy just locked in overtime and was throwing dimes in the end zone all of a sudden. And the offense won the game at Northwestern. And so it's just been like, if one side of the ball is down, the other side will pick them up. And I mean, that's a full team effort right there. Like it's a resiliency within the locker room that if the offense isn't on their A game, the defense will pick them up. Defense isn't on their A game, the offense will pick them up. And so that's how you win 8 games. You're 8-3 because of that.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll add one thing to that. I also think that Manny's demeanor, man. Manny is much more of a kind of a calming presence. And there's nothing against coaches that have some fire to them, nothing at all. But the demeanor that Manny has, and he takes a very methodical approach, to football. If you listen to him talk X's and O's, like everything is very much like simplified. Like if you have more people on that side of the line than what they have people to block, you're probably going to get to the quarterback. You know what I mean? He kind of overly simplifies the game of football. And I think, when you get in those pressure moments and you have a leader that doesn't panic and that is very like even keeled and under control, I believe that helps you overall as a team in those moments. And I also think, to the point of the defense being relied upon often in some of these late situations, like this got to say something to your defense when your head coach believes in you, right? When you're playing these games and he's willing to punt on 4th and 2, when like other coaches would probably go for it to try to seal the game, but he's going to punt because he knows his defense is going to hold. Like that just gives you like ultimate confidence as a player that your head coach believes in what you're doing. And so, I think that has, plays into it as well. But Duke is definitely, aside from the SMU game, Duke has absolutely this season performed well in these close games.
All right, I had just a couple of comments from Jason Rogers, but I wanted to read him. He said, "I'm sorry. I said Murphy needs to run more. I didn't know he was hurting. We won games we were supposed to win so far. We were close in games to pull off some upsets." He said, "Duke fans, this is a wonderful feeling to have. We have become consistent," which he's absolutely right. We've been consistent the last few years. And he wanted to say he actually had major shoulder surgery today. So we wish Jason a speedy recovery. And I just want to say, just make Cash, wait on you and bring you everything, because he's young, he can do it. So with right shoulder surgery, you're not gonna be able to lift anything. So Cash got to wait on you. So
no doubt. That's one of the reasons why you have kids, so that they can wait on you.
And one of the good things, I actually talked to Jason before the game, and he mentioned that to me. The good thing, he's a trucker. He's driving an automatic. So the right arm, he doesn't have to worry about shifting gears. So that's great news. But yeah, Jason, thinking about you, man. We're praying for you.
Yeah, get well, Jason. Get well. I Mebonite guy, so shout out to Jason.
The big city.
all right, Kirk Klein off of Facebook. Was I the only one that thought it was absolutely amazing that we didn't play the Virginia Tech fight song, and the video board operator actually showed all of the controversial replays all game? He said, "I almost didn't know what I should do without someone telling me."
Yes, that's interesting. So we obviously know why we didn't play the fight song is because we had 32 seniors to honor before the game. So that took up a lot of time. But hey, I think we start the tradition from the Virginia Tech game moving forward. Ain't no reason it doesn't. There's not one fan base that's like, "Oh, how awesome is that? Duke plays our fight song." Like that's just not like no one is impressed by it. It's not like, once again, maybe a band director, some like random band director's like, "Oh, how cool is that?" But like it's just not a thing. So anyway, was that a good band director impersonation? I'm not sure, but anyway,
Hey,
Scott, your thoughts?
Well, I actually asked somebody about that before the game, and I thought he was going to tackle me for asking the question. I'm not going to call his name unless you want me to, Josh. You know what I'm talking about? CA.
Oh yeah, no, we won't call him out.
So anyway, yeah, I said something to him about it, and he's like, "Man, don't even ask me that question." And he started laughing, and we were walking away. We were laughing about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. Last thing I'll say about this is like, you have to not do that, because there's nothing more of a slap in the face to your own team. And obviously, we know what Duke's attendance is, right? Like, we are Duke fans. We are a minority. We have a 30,000 seat stadium. We know, right? And so when Virginia Tech fills up half of it, why are you going to get them going in our home place? Don't get the opposing team that travels well excited for their team to be on the road. Don't play that. I don't care about sportsmanship when it comes to bands playing other fight songs. So I'm glad. And I hope, like you said, it starts a tradition yearly that Duke doesn't do this.
And I just wanted to say, actually, shout out to Virginia Tech fans, because they came in the thousands to see a 5-5 team that's lost a bunch of one-score games. These are some dedicated fans, and they love their football team. And I didn't have any problems with any Virginia Tech fans. I don't know about anybody else. They seem cordial and nice enough. But yeah, shout out to them, because I wouldn't want to necessarily follow a 5-5 team to on a road game.
In fairness, there's really not much else to do in Blacksburg, so you might as well come down to a football game. But one more thing about this: there's been a couple of times, and Jamie, we can move on. been a couple of times where the opposing team's band has started playing along with our band on the fight song, and it's like you said, Jamie, all you're doing is Jordan, all you're doing is riling up the fan base of the opposing team that is 50% filling up your stadium. So like it literally makes no sense. So anyway, hopefully, like I said, hopefully that tradition dies. Hopefully,
and it's pissing off the home fans.
Right. There you go.
Yes, we're hearing more and more boos when the fight song starts to get played. Like more and more boos are coming out. All right. At Doug Brown 700, he has a couple of behavior questions, and I think y'all know where this is heading. But the first one is not what you think. Manny Diaz, when shown on TV, he appeared very subdued, not his normal animated self. Was this observed by those at the game, and if so, why was he uncharacteristically calm? And to that, I was going to say, like, I feel like Manny Diaz is pretty much calm, like, all the time. I mean, he gets animated some, but nowhere near what we saw from Elko the previous 2 years. I don't know if y'all have anything to add to that.
Yeah, Elko was like doing his best Danny Hurley impression all last season. Like holding back, like slamming stuff on the ground. But no, I didn't know. No, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't watching on TV, and and so following Manny is difficult to do when you're at the game, obviously. So I don't have anything to say to that other than he is definitely a calmer guy in general. And even in practices, if you're around practices, Manny's a little bit more calm. When he speaks, he demands, respect and attention, but he's just a little bit more subdued than what I believe, honestly, like a typical maybe football coach would be.
But man, does he give some great halftime speeches? Because remember that video that came out of the halftime speech he gave at the Duke UNC game? That was, I mean, I just got chills like just then. Like I was ready to run through a wall just now, just thinking about it.
Yeah, and I to go off of that, what Josh said too, like the most I've seen him animated is honestly cheering for his guys. Like he is like the most player coach guy that you can ask for. Like when Quayshawn Brown early in the season was returning punts and he'd get 10 yards, the first guy that was hitting him on the helmet on the field was Manny Diaz to show confidence in his young buck. And so I didn't see it being in section 21, so you can't really see the sideline that well with the coaches, but like that's a coach that you obviously want to play for, and he gets the results as you see 8-3 because he fights for his guys, right or wrong. He fights for them, and he's a player's coach.
All right, second behavioral question. Malik Murphy. Was Malik's double barrel Italian salute, I thought that was funny, Italian salute, directed to the Duke fans or Virginia Tech fans? And we heard in Manny's presser.
We verified. Contrary to what Manny Diaz said, we have verified that it was directed to all the Duke fans in the Facebook groups who've been hating on him all year. I'm just kidding. That's not true. But there have been a lot of Duke fans hating on Malik. And if he did throw the birds at them, kind of would have been justified. But no, by now you've probably seen the statement from Coach Diaz from Monday's presser, and that was that there was an inside joke between Coach Brewer and Malik because Malik had been missing that post route. Shocker. No, I'd been missing that post route during practice, right? And had not hit it. And there was a back and forth of basically like, if you hit that, you can flip me, you can flip me to, flip me off or whatever, like haha joke. And then he hits it and then he hits it. Right. And so anyway, all that to say, I mean, I don't really have an opinion on it other than the fact that like, it obviously wasn't as egregious as what everyone thought it was going to be when they saw it or when it started making its rounds on social media. Just like anything, right? We always jump to like the worst case scenario and like, he's looking at, Manny Diaz in the eye and flipping him off or something like, whatever. We always jump to the worst case scenario. But once again, is it ideal? Do you want your starting quarterback, even in just doing that in a public setting? You probably don't. But is it the worst thing in the world? Probably not.
Yeah, I agree with you, Josh. And look, I've had teammates in the past, and I've coached guys that they've done something in a big moment like that, and they blacked out, and then you're just like, what was that celebration? And so maybe he just blacked out, and that was just his body just He was in the environment. It was the first play of the game. He lost consciousness and he just acted crazy. I mean, I've seen it so many times in basketball. I mean, you see it with people using gun celebrations in basketball all the times. Like, why did you do that? And it's just you're in the spare of the moment. But he could have been flipping the birds at like the Big J and Little J show, who's been like, hey, you need to take care of the ball more. But I can look, at the end of the day, when you throw as a fan first, when you throw an 80-yard bomb on the first play of the game, you can celebrate any way you want from my standpoint. But I get why the coach is like, hey, reel that in.
Well, and you really didn't see anybody on the sideline losing their mind when he did it. I mean, you really, if you go back and watch it, nobody on the sideline said or did anything. The folks in the stands, yeah, they said something about it. I mean, for me personally, I'm an old school guy, whatever. I don't agree with a lot of the things these kids do out there on the field because I'm on my, I don't want them off my lawn and stuff like that. But it is what it is. I mean, I can't control what he does. He's not my son. He's not my player. So it is what it is. As long as he wasn't flipping off everybody up in 21 where we were at, who cares?
And look, we've all had our flare-ups in traffic, right? I mean, we've all had our flare-ups before.
No, I don't. I don't
2
lose
hours
my
ago,
cool.
2 hours ago,
lose my
85
cool.
North. Yes, amen.
I never lose my cool. Never. As I go back and delete a lot of tweets. Peter Dodge. He says, forget the Thanksgiving bird, which this was pretty awesome. Peter with the play on not only Thanksgiving, the double bird, and us playing the fighting turkeys Saturday night. I thought that was pretty good from Peter. He said if we were all so perfect at that age. And he says the vitriol towards Malik Murphy is mind-boggling. He's a first-time starter growing weekly. His long balls are breathtaking. Will he learn from the interceptions? Yes, he will. So he says, for the love of Chris Wispelway, not sure who that is, stop the hate. But that was just a comment from Peter I thought was good. So at Blade for Duke, he wants to know if we were as disappointed as he was with the crowd Saturday night. It ended up being an okay crowd. A big part of it was the students were already gone from for Thanksgiving. Jesus.
All right, I'm gonna jump in for Jamie there just to try to help him a little bit. Yes,
That
great
was
job,
that was
Josh.
a tag team effort by Jordan and me in the group chat.
That was great. So that's Jamie 0, Jordan and Josh 1 each. So they're winning right now. Honestly, the crowd to me for being an 8:00 game on a Saturday night right before Thanksgiving, students not there, I thought it was pretty good, to be honest with you. I mean, I would have sat here last year and went off a deep end and had to preach a sermon about get your butt out in Wallace Wade Stadium. Hey, folks, they've been there this year. Now, here's the funny thing to me that I don't know if anybody else has noticed. I've looked at every one I can find so far of the stats and stuff, and nobody has put the attendance number in there at all. ESPN doesn't have it. They've had it every other game this season. That was the one game they didn't have it. I thought that was interesting. I mean, not that it matters, but it was just interesting that that's the one game they didn't have the number in there for it. So, I mean, maybe Duke just didn't publish it because they didn't want to hear people complain. I don't know, but I thought it was a good crowd senior night. It was probably, 60-40, you think? 60-40 Duke maybe? Because there was a really good folks there from Virginia Tech. And for the most part, they weren't as obnoxious as most fan bases are. Well, we were anyway.
All right. We got Regina Lee, and I think this is a good one for you, Scott, because I think you were at least listening in on Manny's press conference. She wanted an injury report. How was VJ Anthony? Did Manny say anything about that?
So Manny said that he thought VJ should be okay. It was a muscle issue. He probably could have played, but it was something they didn't want to put him out there and re-injure it and make it a longer injury. So it makes sense what they did. I mean, err on the side of caution. That's what Duke has done so far this season. I mean, it's worked out pretty good.
Yeah,
Right,
I think also he had mentioned the previous week he had mentioned the Jacquez situation So since we didn't see Jaquez this past Saturday, maybe we'll see him this Saturday, at Wake Forest. And so that'll be something just to keep your eyes on as Duke fans.
All right. And I thought this was good. For each of the pod hosts, pick a player or two who you love, who is on the verge of being great, and tell us one thing they can do just a little bit better to get there. So I'll go since I'm unmuted. Y'all know what that means. I'm going to go ahead and take the entire team. But I think actually Jordan mentioned his name earlier. One of them for me is Queso Brown. I think he has the chance to be a tremendous receiver for Duke. And as far as one thing I want him to do better, I think we can all agree on this, is stop catching the ball inside the 10. Like let it bounce. Let's let it bounce. See if it hits the end zone. Or, if it happens to go out at the 3-yard line, it is what it is. But I think the play there is to let that thing hit when you're inside the 10. And I was going to say Malik Murphy.
Here it goes. No, here it goes. Speaking more than one person. It happens every time. He can't do it. Jordan, unmute. Hurry up, Jordan. Unmute.
Malik Murphy next year, I want him to have 800 yards rushing and 17 touchdowns. It's not asking too much.
Jamie, you took my guy there, Malik Murphy, which, right, QB1, kind of the easiest one to talk about. But, yes, he has broken the single-season passing touchdown record for Duke. Phenomenal job year one. But he's still in the bottom half of the ACC in QBR. So it's just like, hey, if we can eliminate these bad throws and keep having these good throws, like that would be fantastic. And obviously, his first year as a starter in college football, you're going to have the bumps in the road. Like you're just going to have it. You're going to have the 3 interception games that he's had 2 out of the last 3 games. But 8-3, can we move on next season and see progression? I don't care if he throws for more touchdowns or less touchdowns next year, but can we eliminate some of the bad throws, like the interception before halftime against Virginia Tech and those type of throws? Can we get that out going into next season?
Go ahead, Scott. I think my guy's not on your radar, so go ahead.
Well, I'm actually going to pick somebody who didn't get to play most of the season because of an injury. I think Jeremiah Hazley is going to have a great career at Duke. Once he gets healthy next year, which he's getting back there, I mean, the sky's the limit. He's a big guy, really good blocker, can catch the football, and he will excel in this offense. And that's one of the things that, that crappy field at Northwestern robbed him of, was the season of what he could have been. But, hey, he's going to be bigger, stronger, better, and I think he's going to have a really great career the next 3 years at Duke.
That's a good one. Shout out to Hazley and the Hazley fam, by the way. Always. I'm going with Kamari Robinson. Kamari Robinson has gotten a lot more snaps and seems like he's been in more situations. In fact, in the fourth quarter, when the game was on the line against Virginia Tech, Kamari Robinson was in on the edges. And so he's got a very good knack, for coverage. Josh Pickett is graduating. And I believe Kamari can slide right into that role opposite Chandler Rivers. So I just think he just needs more snaps. I mean, every time he gets out there, more snaps. And I'll answer for Brian. Actually, I just had one more guy popped in my head. I won't give any commentary on it. Deshaun Stone is another one that's going to, I believe, step into Jalen Stinson's role and can. Obviously Duke may hit the portal on some of these things, but I think Kamari and Deshaun can step right into those secondary roles.
Hey, I'm gonna jump on a 1B real fast. I think somebody who has had a great 2 years that can get even better, Terry Moore. Think about, he was a running back 2 years ago. Now look at that. He's a starting safety and is having a great year and has done a great job at doing what he's done. And he's a hair away from getting an INT the other night on that sideline.
Oh, he got it. I was talking to him after the game. He's like, he was pretty convinced that left foot was in. But anyway, yeah. And I will say this, Terry's being noticed by around the country for sure. Like his play as safety at Duke is definitely turning some heads for sure.
Well, we need the rest of the country to stop noticing him. Like, stay away from our players. Seriously, stay away from him. At Big Papa RV, I thought this was funny. He said, "Can a 3-loss Duke football team make the playoffs?" He said, "If Alabama can ask, you know." Hey, and honestly, had we beat SMU, like Duke would be, in the hunt for the ACC title game. They'd be right there with a chance. I mean, who knows? But
Well, if Duke beats SMU is not in the chase, and it's between Duke and Clemson. And then that's when we're all pulling for South Carolina. I guess that
Right.
doesn't matter in the ACC standings. Yeah, I
right,
don't know what that looks like, but anyway,
But
that
for
would
the
be
conference,
interesting.
it would be Clemson and Miami. If we beat SMU, if SMU had lost, it'd still be Clemson, Miami. But overall, as far as to your point you're trying to make there, that would help Duke out if the Crazy Chickens won this weekend over Clemson down in Death Valley.
at at Drew Chesh, he said, "I'm starting to grow concerned about losing Coach Diaz to a bigger program. Have we heard any rumors?" And I have not. I don't know about you guys. I haven't heard. I know last year this time we were obviously already kind of knew that Elko was on his way out the door, or was going to get the big offer. So
I I haven't heard anything, and I'm not worried. And the only reason I'm not worried, and I know that comes off, I'm a Duke fan, of course, it's going to be a homer answer, but there's something to be said about a coach that has been fired in the past. Like when you've never been fired, you go for broke, you go to greener pastures, you think you're untouchable. Then reality sets in where that one time you get fired, the most important thing for you and your family is job security. And he has that at Duke. He's winning at Duke. He's getting NIL more and more. Josh and the collective has done a hell of a job of doing that. When you start getting a foundation as a coach and you have job security and you know what it's like to already be fired, I don't think you have that type of mentality to like, all right, now I'm going to go from Duke and then I'm going to go back to the top of the ACC or I'm going to go to the SEC, because if it happens again, then what? So I think in that aspect, I think Duke's fine. But say worst case scenario, if he was to go, Nina King has done a hell of a job in 2 coaching searches of finding coaches for Duke. And the more Duke keeps winning, whether it was Elko or Manny, the more this job is more attractive for future coaches if that happened.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I don't know anything. I've not heard a peep of anything. I will say, and I know that we said the same thing about Elko, but I think it says something that Manny's son is a freshman at Duke. So he's in school. They're here. There's something to be said for that stage of life. I believe that Manny and Stephanie are in. So I think that has something to do with it. I also love the fact that he bought a house in Durham, and so like that, that's cool. Like there seems to be alignment there, right? And then also, I do believe, I mean, they had a history here in Durham. His wife used to teach at Immaculata when he was at NC State. So there's some ties already into this area. And like Jordan said, I mean, at some point in time in your career, you get to the point where you're like, okay, I want to like get my feet settled in and planted for a little bit more of an extended period of time. Now, that does not mean that there's another David Cutcliffe scenario out there where a guy's going to come in and just say, no matter what, this is where I'm staying. This is what I'm doing. I think that was a once in a blue moon situation for Duke. But I also don't think Manny is a 1 or 2 year guy unless just the dream job comes his way. And I don't even know what that job would be. We know where it wouldn't be in South Beach. But I don't know where the dream job would be, but I think it would have to be something like that for Manny to jump ship quickly. That's just my opinion.
I agree. Drew also asked about any tailgate info for Wake. He said he might. He thinks he's going to be able to come out to the game. So I didn't know if you had anything yet, Josh.
Scott, you want to give that, man? You got the deets on that.
All right, so the lot at the Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum, yeah, LJV. That's where the parking's going to be. We'll have the bus. The bus will be out there. Matt will be doing breakfast and stuff around 9 a.m. It's a first come first serve lot, So the earlier you get there, the better. They open at 7 a.m. Matt's looking to do breakfast. I think he said food be ready about 9 o'clock. We eat, we go over, we watch the butt whooping, we get back in the cars and go back home and get ready for the next weekend when we figure out if we're going to sunny Florida or not, at the end of the month.
Yeah. So just to verify there, the lot is, I think it's a cash lot. It's $20 cash lot, or $15 or $20 cash lot.
It's
You
20.
cannot get it ahead of time.
It's
So $20. So it's $20 cash lot. So come prepared for that. It's the LJVM lot, right across the street from the stadium, not far at all from the stadium. I did have a follow-up question, Jamie, if it's okay. Will there be an appearance by Jordan Mann at this game, since we are definitely within 45 minutes of Jordan Mann's abode?
I didn't think about that. I should. That gives me a valid excuse to get away from some family members. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I gotta leave. I got work. I gotta go to Duke Wake. But
and StubHub right now, Jordan, I think it's like $8, bro.
Jeez, it's like a Hornets game. It was last time I've been to a Duke Wake game, and it's going to give PTSD to Duke football fans, was the overtime game where Duke Thaddeus Lewis threw in the back of the end zone to Eron Riley, was picked off by, I think it was Alfonso Smith. Looked like he was wide open, picked off, lost the game. So that's the last time I was at Duke Wake. And after that game, they're filming fifth quarter about the Wake Forest linebacker. I was an extra in that movie because I was there just mourning my loss of Duke football. So I might have to go back and, I know a guy that covers Duke and Wake. Maybe he can hook me up with something.
No doubt.
All right. This is another one for Scott. At BS Holloway. On TV, I see Rich Skruski right beside Manny at all times, and he seems to be advising him on almost every decision. He was just curious who he is and what is his role.
So I'm going to take a stab in the dark that I've not gone back and watched the game, but I'm going to take a stab in the dark that Wes Durham mentioned that Rich was standing there beside Manny in one of the pictures, because yes, every time they show Manny on the sideline, Rich is standing right there beside him. So Rich has been coaching for 40 years. 40 years now. Started out as a defensive coach back in the high school days, moved on to the offensive side of the ball. He's been at Rutgers as a GA. He was at Monmouth, Columbia. He spent a good portion of his adult life at Elon as an O-line coach, OC, quarterback coach, went to Ball State for a couple of years. Then he came back and was the head coach at Elon. So he's been in this area for a while. He went to FIU, which a kind of funny story about that. I've heard many David Feely stories from his time at FIU with the Shrotsky family. So those are funny stories, by the way. And then he came to Duke 3 years ago, and he was an analyst. He is a senior analyst, is what they call him, but he's a football man, knows this area well. Really good friends with the Durham family, because I don't know if most of you know, Taylor, Wes's younger brother, is the voice of Elon Phoenix, and they're good friends with the Durham family. But yeah, Rich knows his football. Has been around for a long time. Really good dude. Great family. And honestly, I do believe that Manny has him on the sideline because of all that experience and the fact that he does know this area. And I mean, like I said, really good dude, really good guy. I'm glad to have him on as an analyst, because that was one of the people that we weren't sure what's going to happen between the last staff and this staff, but that was actually another one of the holdovers that doesn't get a lot of play. But Rich is a really good offensive man and knows his football.
I think during the 2 years under Elko, he helped in the running backs room, if I'm not mistaken. And I won't say much more than that, other than he was definitely needed to coach X's and O's in that room those 2 years. And then also, since I know this isn't a basketball podcast, but I think his position could be somewhat similar, ironically, to the Shragi spot over on the basketball side, where there's a lot of similarities there. Former head coach, Elon,
And
all
Elon,
that stuff. So,
This is
Go
6
ahead,
degrees
Si.
of
Is that what you were saying?
separation right there.
Yeah, you were saying Elon, my bad.
What? Duke plays basketball? What?
Yeah.
All right. I thought this was a good one. And Lane Phipps, he said it was a kind of a weird scenario happened to me and Wallace Wade last night, and he wanted our take on it. Which it's not a weird scenario, and y'all see it. This happens quite a bit. I had been sitting in my seat, section 25, since at least an hour before kickoff. 3/4 of the way through the first quarter, the row behind my wife and I had this group of Duke fans come in and sit directly behind me. Every defensive possession, we would stand and get loud. The row behind me tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, the guy behind you can't see," insinuating they wanted me to sit down, and the rest of the row was empty. I politely explained to them that we were trying to make noise and get the defense pumped up. They didn't say anything after that, but I felt like they were annoyed the rest of the time. Am I wrong for not sitting down? And he says, "It's okay to stand up, right? I don't know much football, so I'm trying to learn." And it's absolutely okay to stand up. But we have seen this scenario play out in Wallace Wade. I've seen it play out in Bank of America Stadium, and in multiple stadiums. You got anything, Jordan?
Yeah, two things. Get to Wallace Wade early, first off, and then second off, get your ass up. When it's third down, second down, third down, you get up when Duke's on defense. And if you don't like it, then you can go walk up the steps and complain to security. And while you're up there, at least you're standing up. You're doing half the battle. So you're not going to come to Duke and you're not just going to go sit there and watch thinking this old Duke in 2005, watching Duke versus Western Carolina in a 24-16 battle. Like, we're trying to win ACC games here. And so we're trying to establish an ACC environment. And so obnoxious is a good thing when it comes, obviously, to an extent, but obnoxious is a good thing when you're trying to get rowdy and support your team.
I'm going to jump on the soapbox for a couple minutes, boys and girls, because I have a bone to pick with people. And Jamie knows a little bit about this because Justin was telling him that I was about to lose my mind during the game the other night. Folks, when football is going on, sit your behind in the seat. Watch the game. Quit walking up and down the stairs during the plays. If you go to the restroom, if you go get a drink, if you go get popcorn, if you do anything that does not allow your backside to sit in your seat, keep your behind upstairs until the play is over. We sat on the end of the row for the first time all season, and now I know why I haven't done it before and will not do it again. Because I got tired of watching Duke fans, number one, children, number two, acting like it was a fun time running up and down the stairs, driving me insane. Number three, watching the Virginia Tech fans. Folks, the game is going on. I understand the lines are long. I understand you're going to be stuck in the bathroom. You know, at hockey, when you go out to get a drink and play is going on, guess what they do? They stop your backside at the door till the play's done. Then you can go sit your little behind down. So, folks, learn some freaking etiquette, okay? You don't have to be crazy. You don't have to be rude. Now, in that situation, I'm not going to lie to you. I would have probably turned around and said, "Look, there's a whole row sitting beside you over here. You can walk down there. If not, I'm standing up in the game. I'm here to have fun. If you're not, there's a whole lot more section. G has over there. The seat's over. Go have a good night." That's just me personally. That's my 2 cents worth. But folks, learn what in the devil you're doing. You're not there for a social club. There was a guy, and Jamie knows the guy I'm talking about. He was doing everything I was thinking of doing the other night, losing his mind. And he was worse than I was. And Josh, I know you have a hard time believing that, but he was 10 times worse than I was. I was sitting there looking at the guy like, am I really that bad? Do I really make that much noise? And then I thought about it for a minute and realized, yes, that was me. But he was just an accelerated aged version of me, kind of like my father, which is even funnier now that I think about that. But anyway.
And
Man.
that was a message from the Reverend Scott Midland. All right. Noah, we know Noah. That's all I got to say is just Noah. Everybody knows. Fellas, didn't lose a shoe all season. I know some people were hoping for my downfall, and they got it. I obviously lost my edge and will do better next year. Please leave any ideas for improvement.
Well,
Oh, no.
Noah hit the tailgate with us this past week. That's step one, is to make sure you hit the tailgate every week, Noah, and get there early. And then Noah would partake with a little bit more, beverage stuff there for a few hours before the game if he came to more tailgates. So, but anyway, yeah, he did. I mean, there wasn't really the crazy. I mean, the UNC game was a good field storm, but like I will still say there has not been anything like that Clemson, the game where he lost his shoes. For those of you that are new to the podcast, last year, the Clemson game, Noah jumps out of the stands to go rush the field, and his shoes are left on the ground right there by the wall. And after he rushes the field, he comes back and his shoes are no longer there. And so he went home that night slightly inebriated and also without shoes. And so anyway, slightly. So anyway, no, I don't have anybody else have any any suggestions for Noah to up his game?
You know what? I saw Noah start a fight with the SMU band. I thought he did pretty well this year, actually. It's like,
Wasn't there pictures or video of him abusing his shoes at the SMU game on the bleachers? So maybe, just maybe, you don't want to do that with your shoes. But other than that, man, cheer and have a good time like you have.
Funny story about that game where he was hitting the shoe on the thing. My daughter was there and was sitting right there. Jamie, I think she was with you or something that game. And I was like, "Did you see the guy beating his shoe on the thing?" She's like, "Oh yeah, he was weird." So anyway, that was just my daughter's take. So
and another funny story about that game. So I mean, like I said, yeah, like you said, Kelsey's on one side of me and Noah is on the other side of me. And every time somebody would come and sit down in front of Noah, they would last maybe like, one or two plays, and they politely get up and move. It was hilarious, dude. That was Noah was in his bag that night. I really do. That was the SMU game, I think, or was it FSU? I can't remember.
I think it was SMU. Yeah, I think it was SMU.
Yeah. All right. So Scott Cornelius says, when a player gets a first down, if he doesn't signal for a first down with his arms, is it still a first down? So it's kind of like if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to see it, does it really make any noise? So
you could be like George Pickens. Was it this past Sunday or Sunday prior, where he got 1 or 2 yards and did the first down because he saw that was the line, like the line of scrimmage chain and not the first down chain. So it was 2nd and 7. And he went like that. There's nothing funnier. There's nothing funnier than a QB sliding, and since they give themselves up a yard prior to the first down marker, they get up and go like that. It's like you gave yourself up a yard and a half early. Like, dive next time. So that's all I have on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is not the question, but going off of that, Jordan, I am baffled at NFL players and Power 4 college football players who are just unaware of where the first down line is, of like what yardage needs to be gained, whether it's a 3rd and 7 and a tight end runs a 4-yard route, or whether it's, like you said, a quarterback running and starting a slide early, whatever it may be. But just like the lack of awareness from some people, from some players in some situations, like, to me, part of that mental game is knowing like where that first down marker is. And I know I've got to get there, so I digress, but it is amazing, especially in the NFL, that you've got guys on their second contract making millions and millions of dollars, and like, old school, like supposed to be veteran players that like unaware of first down markers. Very interesting.
All right. Going to move on to a little bit of a preview of Wake Forest here. Thomas Hutton says he's going to be at the game. And how do we think we will handle the slow mesh? I hate watching it. I got a few stats here I'll read off, and then you guys can talk through it. Wake is averaging, giving up 281 pass yards a game. So I think Malik could have another big game. It's potential. Wake is averaging, giving up 162 rushing yards per game. So they're really just not good on defense. I mean, you hate to be blunt, but it seems like they're not very good on defense.
I mean, that's 400 25 yards or something a game total offense?
I got this. Wake is averaging giving up 444 yards per game
Jeez.
total offense. So we go down to Wake averages actually 132 rushing yards per game. So that's something to keep our eyes on. Claiborne has 981 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns actually. So he's pretty solid running back. I'm not sure. Bachmere, is that how you say his name? The quarterback has 20. Bachman. He has 2,386 yards passing with 15 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So nothing too spectacular there. So how do y'all think we fare Saturday afternoon in Winston-Salem?
I'll follow up with a question, and I'll let you guys answer it. How many more Duke fans will be at the game than Wake Forest fans on Saturday for the ball game?
Now that's a great question.
I definitely think it could be at least. I think it could be 60-40 like Duke. Like I don't think Wake fans are going to show up.
There's nothing for Wake to play for, which was great.
Right.
You know, Miami took care of that for us this past weekend in beating them. There's nothing to play for. As Jamie has mentioned with the stats, they're not good. I mean, Jordan may have a little bit more insight on here with Connor covering, Wake Forest, but they're not good on defense, which is historically, especially in the secondary, that's kind of been Wake's, calling card, over the last several years. They've put out like really good DBs and safeties, but they're not good this year. And then other than Claiborne, nobody on that offense, scares me or should scare Duke in any way. So yeah, Jordan, I mean, if you want to dive a little bit deeper into what they do, like I just don't see a scenario where a semi 90% focused Duke football team doesn't go in there Saturday and take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with really the offense is Claiborne. Claiborne is the X factor for them. He is a hell of a back. I think Connor told me he's the second running back in Clawson's tenure to reach over 1,000 yards. So it shows you how special of a back he is and how important he is for this offense. And the slow mesh, like obviously we see Wake Forest, they're 5-6, could possibly be 5-7. About had an Elko right there when I was previewing a loss for them, looking over Auburn, saying Texas. But they are pretty solid. They're 2-2 against the common opponents with Duke. I mean, they beat NC State on the road like Duke did. And then I'm drawing a blank on who else they beat right now. But they've been right there. Oh, UConn. They beat UConn by 4 points or 3 points at UConn. So those are two common opponents they both played and both beat. So it's going to be tough. Like, it's just going to be tough because Duke and Wake's always weird, right? And also they do go up all those yards, but Duke is the most boom or doom team in the ACC, if not the country. And it's like, can Duke give you more than one possession that is going to be 3 to 5 plays and 80 yards and you score a touchdown? And then can they do that the next time? And then if it's a one-score game, can you run out the clock where there's 4 minutes left? Like, can you establish any type, and not even run, just like first downs to where that's what we saw, and no shade, but it just reminded me of like Kevin Johns at Duke, where it would be like 6 minutes on the clock, and then he'd run it down to 2 minutes or 1:30, and Duke basically won the game out of a 2-possession score. Can Duke just take time off of the clock? I would celebrate that, Josh, if Duke would go 3 first downs, take 6 minutes off, and punt. Like a little Army possession. Just take minutes off so the defense can get some sort of rest.
Yeah, I mean, the time of possession numbers from the Virginia Tech game and like the numbers of plays run and like all that was just like, if you just looked at the stat lines on those things, you're like, Virginia Tech wins this game by 14 points or more. So yeah, you're right. Like Duke's got kind of feast or famine, right? That's kind of where they're sitting. And really it would be nice to see a sustained running attack. Once again, if Jacquez comes back, I mean, not that Peyton and Starr have not been great, but once again, can we just reestablish that run and spare our defense a little bit?
And the biggest battle, I mean, and Jordan mentioned, and I mentioned it before with Claiborne, is going to be stopping the run. I mean, because Duke is not great against the run. Like, we've been great, tackles for loss, sacks, big wreak havoc type plays, but they haven't been great against the run. So we got to be able to stop that run.
And to me, you got to quit arm tackling. That's what they did. That's why Tootin was so well the other night. He's a really good running back, and he doesn't go down easily. But we're also letting him. We're kind of like forearm shivering him, thinking, "Oh, he's going to fall," and he's just plowing over and going another 10 yards. And I mean, we've seen that in the past. We've seen that years past, where the ball gets run down our backs and stuff, and we're just standing there. Oh, we're supposed to tackle the dude. I thought we were just supposed to hit him and he falls. So that, I think that's something they could work on this week. And because, like you said, the running back's really good. And I messed up the quarterback's name. It's Buckmeyer. I said it wrong a minute ago, and I threw you off, Jamie. So that's my bad.
Jamie was right. Jamie, you were right, dude. Real quick. That's all for all the questions. I will say this. I do believe that Manny mentioned this in his presser, that he was definitely not pleased with the way that Duke played against Virginia Tech. Thought it was, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to quote him, put words in his mouth, but like one of the worst performances of the season. If once you look back and watch a little bit of film on it. So I would look for this Duke team to come out, very focused. Duke has the potential 9 wins in the regular season, which they have not done. If Brian were here, he might would have looked that up. I am. What is it? 15?
15, I think, is the last time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the potential of winning that bowl game, depending on where who the opponent is, and getting 10 wins. So I believe there's a lot left for Duke to play for. I believe Duke definitely would love to see that Gator Bowl or Duke's Mayo Bowl or one of those upper echelon bowls. And so I think Duke comes out with a little bit of a rejuvenated focus this week, and we'll give our predictions here in a second. But I appreciate you sending in those questions for sure. We do want to thank another one of our sponsors, and that is El Rodeo Mexican Restaurant on Duke Street. They provide a great environment, great food. I went there this past week. I rocked another steak sope this past Sunday, hitting it up. But about 10 to 12 minutes from campus. If you're in the area for anything, maybe you have also discovered that Duke plays basketball and you come to a basketball game. Maybe hit that up before the game, but let them know you listen to the Section 17 podcast. Once again, great food, great drinks, great atmosphere. El Rodeo on North Duke Street in Durham is our Iron D sponsor, and we appreciate them coming on this year for sure. Well, we've come to the last week of the regular season. We know that this historically has been, when Duke has a home game, you talk about disappointing attendance. This has historically been a very disappointing attendance weekend for Duke home games. Luckily, we're away, and so it's doesn't really affect us as much. But Scott brings us every week this week in Blue Devil history, and so let's hear for the final week of the regular season this week in Blue Devil history. Scott, take it away.
Well, we're going to go back a long time, almost 365 days to be exact, to November 25th, 2023. The number 20 Duke Blue Devils did something they hadn't done in a long time by beating the Pitt Panthers in our doozy, 30-19. Grayston Loftus was 20 of 37 for 248 yards, 2 touchdowns, and added 2 rushes for 4 yards. Jalen Coleman, who's now a buddy, good friend of the pod, led the Blue Devils with 11 carries for 30 yards. Jomo was Jomo. 8 receptions, 106 yards, and a TD. Jalen Calhoun added 7 receptions for 71 yards and a TD. Nick Morris, guy who we really missed this season, led Duke with 12 tackles, and Jeremiah Lewis had 6 tackles with an INT. The win helped Duke to 7-5 and 6-1 at home for the season. And that was this week in Duke football history.
There we go. And it's nice to celebrate wins. Jordan, there was one time, I think it was last season, where Scott started doing this and he picked a loss or something. And we gave him the hardest time. So these are all positive weeks in Duke football history from here on out. And so,
for the record, just so everybody knows, after you get to a certain point in history, you cannot find box scores. So it is a difficult task to get past a certain point and find a box score without going through all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I made the mistake, and I'm not making it again.
That's hilarious. That's good. Well, Brian is not with us, and so We will not be doing tell of the tape. I'll give you a tell of the tape. Wake Forest used to be actually in Wake Forest. They're a Baptist school. Demon Deacons, not sure where that came from. I'm sure Brian would tell us more about it. Dave Clawson has been their coach for a while. Heard he's kind of a jerk. And yeah, that's about it. Duke will play them as they have done now over the last several years in the last week of the season. Jordan, you have something to add?
Yeah, I got one more thing to add. Jim Grobe went to Ferrum College. So me and Jim Grobe have something in common. He was a Ferrum Panther, so shout out Jim Grobe.
Come on.
And Winston-Salem is the home of the glazed donuts from Krispy Kreme, just for the record.
Scott's glazing, dog. Yep, those
the best donuts. The best donuts.
Oh, when the sign is lit up, make sure you get up in there.
Yeah.
So sorry. Anyway, so we will move on to our predictions portion of the broadcast now, and Scott has got our list of winners from the Virginia Tech game, and I don't know. I helped with the Facebook one. I don't know what all the other winning numbers were, but the Facebook guy was 1 point off the entire score. So, Scott.
So let's go ahead and talk about the Facebook guy. So, hey, Facebook guy, Scott Colley, you were the winner. 31-27, missed it by 1 point. Also, Scott, reach out to one of the guys. Send them your shirt size.
I DM'd him. I already DM'd him.
Okay. Josh DM'd you, so please respond to that DM since, I'm not going to go back through that again, but the guys hate it when I have to talk about the Facebook story. Anyway, enough about that crap. So the winners on Instagram, we actually had a tie, and it was Bentley Weeks and Jason Rogers. Conveniently enough, 31-17, and Robert Rigsby was the winner on X. He had 31-27, I believe. I'm trying to find it and cannot find it in my phone, so we're going to go 31-27, and if I'm wrong, so be it. 31-24. Found it finally.
Awesome. So congrats to those guys. We're running out of shirts, and so we're hooking up with some gift cards for those that we don't have their shirt size. But that's a good thing. We see a lot more people rocking those Bleed Blues shirts around the game, and so that's always a good thing. Well, let's talk about this upcoming game. Obviously, we're going to all be hitting Thanksgiving on Thursday, but then Saturday comes quickly. Jordan, do you have the lines for this game? Give us a little bit of intel, and then if you want to go ahead and start with your uniform combo and score prediction.
Yeah, the over-under, I think, is like 53.5. I could be wrong there, but Duke is a 4.5 point favorite. That's the main thing. Over-under could be wrong, but on recording right now, Duke is a 4.5 point favorite. I think Duke. I give my prediction and everything with jerseys and everything. Perfect.
Go ahead and do the whole thing.
I think Duke covers the spread. I think it's going to be a rock fight early, but I think Duke will, in the second half, knock on wood. I kind of want Wake Forest to go up maybe 10-0, and then Duke goes on the run and takes the lead instead of Duke being the team that goes up double digits. But I think Duke wins. I'll say 26. No, I'm just kidding. No more 26s this season. 28-17, Duke covers. And I'm going to go white. You know what? I'm going to go white script. I'm going to go the SMU helmet. I'm going to go off the board a little bit. I'm going to go white script, white helmet, blue script, white jersey, all white, just with the script.
All right, I'll take it from there. I like the icy, man. I like the icy, and I do think we see the icy whites because once again, I believe they'll probably let some seniors pick, like I believe they did for senior night, and so I hear icy white said a lot from those guys, so I'm going to go icy white, but I'm going to go with the Gothic script, so not the old Duke script. I'm going to go Gothic script. Icy white, and then I've got Duke winning this game. I'm going to go 30-21. 30-21. Duke gets the 9-point victory and finishes the regular season at 9-3.
All right, I'll go next, and I'll Brian sent us his prediction. I'll give his real quick. He's got Duke 31-14 with a whiteout and with Gothic Duke on the helmet, just like what Josh said. And I'm also going to go icy whites. And I think I'm just going to stick with that Gothic script too, because that's what I'd like to see. And as far as the score, I feel like I like kind of like what Jordan said, be a close game in the first half, but I think Duke pulls away in the second. I'm going to go Duke. I'm going to go one off of Brian. I'll just go Price is Right, Brian. Duke 31, Wake Forest 13. Duke 31, Wake Forest 13.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, so I think Icy White is the way to go. I'm going to go different though, because I don't want to be like you guys. I do agree with the helmets being different. I'm gonna go Hellraiser. I'm gonna go blue helmet with the Hellraiser on it, but I'm gonna go Icy Whites the rest of the way. And I'm gonna be the adventurous one here. I'm gonna say that the Blue Devils score 38 this Saturday in Winston-Salem. By the way, Duke fans, if you get cold, it's going to be really cold out there. The high is 42 degrees that day. So fun times, just so you're aware. It'll be hot. It's going to be colder there than it was at the Military Bowl. Go figure. And I'm going to say that Wake will get 14. No, 17. We'll go 17. So I'm going to go over the over-under just a little bit.
All right. By the way, we will have the solo stove at the tailgate again. So we rock that. I'm as you guys know, I'm an outdoorsman. Spend a lot of time outdoors. I think probably 30 to 45 minutes a week I spend outside. And so anyway, I did build the fire and it lasted and it was good. So anyway, we will have that rocking as well. I have an idea for a helmet. They're not going to do it, but like do the ultimate Icy White helmet with the white D. Like white on white and then white. I think that would kind of be clean. Not going to lie. So anyway, they're not going to do that. What do you think, Jordan? You unmuted for a second.
I accidentally unmuted, but I was going to say, it just reminds me of when Duke did the all black, right when they had the black helmets, they had the black D, but then you couldn't see the D. So you might just not be able to see the D. That'd be the problem. So it just looks like a white helmet. And I just realized what I said out loud. So the big white D.
You can't see it, man. I mean,
but it would be a small white D in that case.
I mean,
you can't see it.
I could not have set myself up more than I did right there. I thought Peter Dodge's question was the funniest part of the night, and I just put, I just got to shut up. That's all that's got to happen.
So good. Well, it's been a good episode. We really appreciate, as always, you sending in your questions. We hope we were able to answer them sufficiently. If you haven't done so already, make sure you follow us on social media, X, on Instagram, at Duke FB Talk, on Facebook. Just search for Duke Football Talk. Then obviously on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate you subscribing, maybe sharing this episode with a friend that's a Duke fan. And then obviously Apple and Spotify. We really do appreciate you listening. Give us 5-star ratings on both of those apps. And on Apple, if you would take the time to give us a 5-star review, we would really appreciate that. We've got a lot of those, and we want to keep doing those. And so if you would keep rating and reviewing, that would be really, really good for us. And so, Scott, go ahead, man.
Let me do a little cleanup here for everybody real fast. Next week, we will not have a podcast. We're going to take the week off. I know that's going to hurt some feelings and break some hearts. We apologize. We are going to take next week off because the next weekend we're going to find out where we're going. Obviously, we really would like to have some mayo on our sandwich after the new year, possibly. But if that's not going to work, then we would love to go down and get a suntan in sunny Florida. Maybe even eat a Pop-Tart while we're down there, if that, or maybe try some Gator, one of the two. Whatever works out, as long as it's sunny Florida or the mayo, that would be beautiful. But just wanted to remind everybody of that. You don't get to see our ugly mugs for another 2 weeks. Sorry.
Yeah, we definitely feel like that'll be a better bang for your buck if you wait a week. We'll talk about the Wake Forest game, and then we'll have more information, obviously, about the bowl, and so that'll make more sense. And so we'll come to you that following week. Jordan, man, real quick, tell everybody where they can find your work and kind of what you do.
Yeah, you can find me on Duke Twitter at DukeFBFans_. The Twitter account here that I forgot to put the ad on is my personal account, JMan's Takes. It's more basketball and some football oriented there. And then YouTube channel, jman_, where you can find the podcast, the Big J and Little J show I have with Connor O'Neill of Devils Illustrated. We have it on Apple, Spotify, and my YouTube. And if you like Duke basketball as well, there's tons of Duke basketball content on there with film breakdowns. I did one for the recapping the Arizona game. I'll do one for Duke, Kansas. And the podcast is out already for our Duke Wake Forest preview.
Yeah, awesome. If you don't follow Jordan, what are you doing with your life? And so we just really mourn the loss of the original Duke FB fans. Jordan tried to get a little too cute last year and ended up getting that one. I lost a lot of followers.
Hey, I got too close to the sun and it burned me. Or too close to the sun, too close to the fire, and it burned me. And so now FB fans with an underscore, but still have the tight knit community that I did have, but growing slowly but surely.
RIP.
Yeah. And so anyway, well, listen, we appreciate you listening this week. Duke's going for their ninth regular season win. And so we hope to see you if you're anywhere around the Winston-Salem area. Get your cold weather gear together. I've still got all my cold weather gear saved from our military bowl experience a couple of years ago. So I'm going to be layered up. But we'll have a great time. Don't forget, we'll be tailgating. You can get there as early as 7 a.m. We'll be tailgating and have breakfast at 9 a.m. for you in the Little John Memorial parking lot. It's $20 cash to enter. So make sure you got that ready. We hope to see you Saturday. But listen, for Jamie Holt, for Scott Medlin, for producer Tyler Witt, and for Jordan Mann, this is Josh Cox. And this has been another episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast.